Tyler. This guy is a find. I'm not sure where that woman right there on that movie camera finds people like this, but she does. Okay, she's amazing for people she can dig up. She's working, and I'm not going to take any thunder, she's working on, can I say it? Can I? There's an outside possibility that we maybe could get Rafael Cruz. And that's his dad. The younger son is named Ted. He's going to be in Tyler for that party. You know, you put your connection together. It depends. You can work magic. We're going to see. Pressure on you now. All right, Dr. Kane discussed current state of the economy, where he projects it, where it's going to head. He's going to talk about the Fed economic policy, deficits, labor statistics, all the stuff that you really kind of don't want to know, but you need to know. So without further ado, please give a warm welcome to Dr. Kane.
Can you hear me all right?
Up, closer.
Now, is that better?
Yep.
Okay.
Very close.
When Cindy called me and said she needed an economic expert to come and talk to you, I said I'd call her back and check on Google. I remember that an expert is anybody that's more than 30 miles away from home. Google said it's 42 miles over here, so I called her back and said, I'll do it. I've seen a number of illustrations on the internet, I know you have too, that try to help us understand, visualize, and get a feel for $1 trillion. And the one that Mike showed up here was excellent. Another way of thinking about $1 trillion is that if you were to go on a spending spree, and if you were to spend $1 million a day, it would take you 2,740 years to spend $1 trillion. So that's $17 trillion, which is our national debt, and which does not include contingent liabilities for Social Security, Medicare, and FHA houses, and you name it, student loans. You're probably looking at 150, maybe $200 trillion. Nobody really knows for sure. So you could just kind of mentally blow that picture up that he gave you, and you'd have an idea of it. I was thinking the other day that most of the really traumatic economic events that we have suffered through in the last, let's say, 5 or 6 years have their origins in politics. So, for example, if you started with the what is now called the Great Crash, started in December 2007, you know that was a creature of the government's idea that it was okay to make loans to people that had no jobs and poor credit and very little income. And there's so many other things, Obamacare, CO2 regulations, you can just go down the list, and the Dodd-Frank Act and what it's doing to financial markets. Every one of those has its origins in politics, and so I was thinking, if you can go to the next slide for me. A good definition of politics, I found a Nobel Prize-winning economist to define politics for us here. Politics is the art of looking for trouble, finding it everywhere, diagnosing it incorrectly, and applying all wrong remedies. I just love that. It's just right on the mark. I don't know how many of you remember Groucho Marx, where he was quite a character. But apparently a fairly intelligent observer and commenter on American life. Let's go to the next one. I wanted to address 4 different questions here tonight, and in doing so, we'll kind of touch on some of those things that Mike read so capably from that slide. So question number 1 is, how is the recovery coming? If you weren't aware of it, the recovery officially started in June of 2009. Mr. Obama seems to think it's coming along nicely. Number 2, whatever happened to bipartisanship and common ground? One of the most common laments that I hear from people is, I don't know why the people in Washington just can't get along together and compromise and get things done for us. And so I hope when you leave here tonight, if you don't have an understanding of why this is not only not possible, but why it would be absolutely deadly for us. And that a lot of our problems, in fact, come from the degree of bipartisanship that does exist, that has defeated many of the efforts of concerned legislators to try and turn this ship around. Number 3, how does the debt ceiling represent ideas and values? I don't think any of that came out in the recent debate over raising the debt ceiling. And there are a couple pieces of legislation that I wanted to talk to you about. Most of you, I know you're very well informed, so you probably already know about this. And 4th, something that I've wondered when I hear some of the things that are said in Washington, D.C., is whether or not the laws of economics that I learned many years ago have been repealed, and I just didn't get the email. So if you're like me, when I hear the things that are said, for example, about the debt ceiling, when I hear the Secretary of the Treasury, this is not supposed to be, and has not historically been, what you might call a political position. Secretary of Treasury is a very serious job, and presumably the people that are appointed to that position are serious people, and they have the best interest of America at heart in running the Treasury. But when I hear the Secretary of the Treasury say that if we don't raise the debt ceiling, it will jeopardize the full faith and credit of the United States government, I have to ask myself, well, is this Washington, D.C. that I'm hearing about, or am I reading Alice in Wonderland? I mean, am I the only one that feels that the common sense that we relied on for so many years has been turned upside down? And so I wanted to offer you, let's go to the next one, a bit of comfort if you're one of these people like myself and you feel that everybody else seems to buy into that, and you feel that maybe you've lost touch with reality. I wanted you to go back just a little bit in time, 1776, publication of The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith. Fairly smart guy. And, well, back up one for me, if you will. There you go. What is prudence in the conduct of every private family can scarce be folly in that of a great kingdom. So what he was telling us is, look, the things that you teach your children to help them be successful, pull their own weight, be responsible, end up with a decent job, have a good marriage, the things that you teach them are not folly in a great kingdom. If they work around the kitchen table, they make sense. They'll make sense for a nation of kitchen tables. So it's just a little comfort if you've sometimes felt that you were out of sync. I don't think it's you, and I sure don't think it's Adam Smith. I think it may be the Secretary of the Treasury that's out of sync. But I'm going to talk about that and a couple other things, and I hope you'll indulge me here. I've been a teacher for about 40 years. And so I've been to presentations where basically they told me things. And I'm going to do a little bit of that tonight, but I'm going to slip back into the teacher mode because some of these things I'm convinced are not fully understood by people at the ordinary level like we're in. And I know they're not understood by the people in Washington. And so I'm going to do a little Economics 101 as we go along here, if that's all right. If you already know that, you can kind of doze off.